Today on Play to Win, the SEC championship game could be decided as Alabama takes on LSU for control of the West and Georgia and Kentucky battle in Lexington in the East. Are Bama and Georgia destined to meet in Atlanta, or the Tigers and Cats spoil the party? That and more on the fastest 30 minutes in television, football's Play to Win.
Today's show is being brought to you by Georgia Lottery and McDonald's. Welcome to football's Play to Win with Falcons All-Pro defensive end Chuck Smith, Falcons All-Pro offensive tackle Bob Whitfield, Play to Win expert Jeffrey the Edge Schechter, player medical and injury reports with Dr. Sadiq El Amin, Falcons All-Pro running back Jamal Anderson, and your host, Nikki Williams. Today's Hometown Team Report is brought to you by Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers, a higher order of pizza for your tailgating events.
Ben Ingram here. I'm not Nikki Williams. She is out on assignment, and I'm going to do my best to fill in for her this week. But I got a great panel here with me today. Bob Whitfield, Jamal Anderson, Chuck Smith. Guys, thanks so much for having me this week.
Welcome, brother. Welcome.
Appreciate it, man.
Welcome, because if Nikki had grown that out, we're going to have issues, all right? We're going to have some issues if it was Nikki.
Absolutely. I know you guys have a lot of fun with her. We're going to do our best to have a lot of fun as well today. And we have a lot to get to. And, of course, here in this first block, we're going to be going through everything we're going to touch on with our show. But we got a brand new batch of college football rankings. And this means a lot for especially a bunch of schools around here. And let's start with Georgia, because they come in number 6 at 7-1. Really no surprises there at the top, guys. Alabama, Clemson, LSU up there at 3, and we'll see 1 and 3 play this weekend. But Bob, I want to start with you. For Georgia, what does this mean starting out number 6 in these rankings?
I'm going to use an adage. They're on the outside looking in, and on the outside looking in, you're in a keen position with LSU facing Alabama. There's going to be maybe a one-loss team going out to 2 losses in LSU if they lose. So Georgia can, if they can edge out Kentucky, they can lean themselves in, but they got a couple more key games to play. So Georgia's in control of their own destiny, and if they control it the right way, I see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, Jamal, I don't think they're really worried about being outside of the top 4. Just being in the mix right now, where you want to be, you know that if you take care of your business, you'll be in that top 4 at the end of the season.
It's about going to the next game for Georgia. It's about Kentucky. It's about playing the next game, not getting ahead of yourself. They're right where they want to be. They control their own destiny. It's about winning the next couple of games down the line.
But to me, it's like, Ben, let me tell you, it's a teaser. It's like an appetizer, right? This is just a teaser. You know, they give you a little bit of, you get some crackers and cheese, and then you get the meal. So right now, they just tease us with this top 4. But let me tell you who benefits the most. Any team outside the top 4, and that's Michigan, because guess what? You know Alabama and LSU, one of them is going to pop out of there. So I think it's just a teaser, but big things going to happen today.
Yeah, a bunch of 7-1 teams in there, right outside the top 4. Yep. I think they all feel like they can make moves and find their way in, depending on what happens. And we're going to talk about Bama and LSU in a little while, because that is going to be the game this weekend, number 1 versus number 3. Staying close, let's talk about Georgia Tech, because they've won 3 of their last 4. They're healthier now than they have been since week 1. And Bob, I think they feel like they've got this thing rolling in the right way, where they could really make some noise here in the last month of the season.
Talk about QB controversy. They got 2 QBs, and we always been talking Jake Fromm and Justin Fields as 2 QBs. Now Georgia Tech has 2 QBs. So I like Georgia Tech, what they've been doing, how to rebound and get some wins, because they were going the opposite direction.
Yeah, of course, and they want to figure out if they can get Marshall back in there and see if he can take that quarterback position back away.
Yeah, it's big for them. Here's the thing. They got off track a couple weeks ago against Duke. Then last week against Virginia Tech, they had a dominant performance. I don't even think they threw the ball one time, Chuck. And this is the offense that we expected to see. Mm-hmm. If you look at 3 of their last 4 games, they're averaging like 55 points a game. Again, the Duke game was the anomaly. So Georgia Tech needs to – it doesn't matter which quarterback is going to be in there for those guys. Both of those guys can operate in that offense.
We're going to talk more about that. But then, of course, Falcons and Redskins. Chuck, huge game this weekend.
Yeah, it is, and the Falcons have had a bye week. I think the Falcons are excited. They have a chance to, play 500 ball, be, 4-4. So I just think the Falcons established the run. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I think the Falcons have a huge opportunity to play against a good team in Washington on the road.
That's right. Well, when we return, time to break down the battle for the SEC West. Can Alabama continue their offensive onslaught on the Bayou? We'll break it down next.
Fuel your football. Come to Mellow Mushroom for craft brews, fresh cocktails, and stone-baked pizzas. or mellow at your own home gate. Tailgating? No matter who wins, it's always mellow for the win. Fuel your football with Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers.
Drug Studies America in Marietta is looking for patients who have a herniated disc or those suffering from low back pain, knee pain, hip pain, or pain from CRPS. Call this number now. You will receive free medical treatment and compensation for your time and travel at every visit. If you have a herniated disc or are suffering from low back pain, knee pain, hip pain, or pain from CRPS, please call Drug Studies America today.
There is a better way to get you and your company in the hands of potential clients 24/7. This is IntelliCard, today's digital business card. It is the ultimate sales, branding, and marketing tool. With IntelliCard, all of your information is in one place, making it easier to share and recall. IntelliCard is different. You get all of this in a highly secure web-based solution designed to get you results.
Take advantage of our special TV offer. Call now and get your IntelliCard for only $99. Work smarter and increase your sales today with IntelliCard.
Today's SEC and ACC report is being brought to you by Nissan.
Back on football's play to win. We've jumped into what we're going to talk about here over the course of this show, and tell you what, this weekend, Bama, LSU. Want to jump into the SEC West standings all together, guys. But as we look at this, Bama and LSU 1-2. You got A&M, Mississippi State, Auburn, Ole Miss, and Arkansas the rest of the way. And I think coming into the season, we thought maybe a few other matchups, maybe Bama, Auburn, maybe Bama, Texas A&M would be the matchups of the SEC West. But Chuck, here we are. It's Bama and LSU 1 versus 3 down in Baton Rouge.
Well, number one, I think what defines this is, to me, it's Ed Orgeron. When I think of LSU, this program, everybody said it was down and out. This was the year he was supposed to gotten fired. Now they're looking like, wow, what a great hire going against Nick Saban. LSU struggled against Alabama these last few years, but I think that this team now, with Joe Burrow at quarterback, has an opportunity with his confidence and leadership at quarterback to compete against Bama.
Jamal, are you a little bit surprised that LSU is where they are?
No, I mean, I'm not. There's a tremendous amount of talent there. And the thing about LSU has been all these guys that we've seen there in the pros that they put out every year. They put out a number of guys, and now it's like, when is the program going to pick up with the talent level that's on the sidelines? So LSU, just like Chuck said, Ed Orgeron is owed a lot of credit for where they are right now, but they're physical, they attack, and they play tough. But listen, Bama's no joke, and here comes Tua in that offense that's been unstoppable all year long.
Yeah, you always been bragging about Tua.
I know, man. He's taking the offense to another level for
LSU
Alabama.
got DBs.
LSU's the only team that could possibly beat Alabama on the schedule. I don't think they will.
We'll see.
But they're the only team that could possibly beat them. Auburn's not going to beat them.
Let me show you some numbers here. These top 5 scoring offenses in the SEC. This is unbelievable to me because Alabama, there you go, right at the top, 54 points a game. Now, here's the stat of the show. If you eliminated every point that Alabama has scored in the second half of all their games, they'd still be number 1 in the SEC in scoring offenses. Bama and LSU have gotten together for some great matchups in years past, but I can't remember talking about the offenses in years past as much as we're talking about it this year, Bob. I mean, it really is amazing.
Well, you know, those have been defensive-minded programs, and what you have now, especially with the birth of Tua, is Alabama throws the ball, and he's getting 3 or 4 touchdowns a game. He doesn't even play in the fourth quarter.
Right.
But they're going to face a team that is known for secondary players. So I definitely see this being a different type of matchup for Tua because you actually have some corners and DBs out there from LSU that can keep up with anybody. So it'll be a battle in that secondary, and if they can get some heat on Tua with some pass rushers, Chuck, hey, you might see a different outcome.
Let me tell you about that 54 points. They let up in a lot of those games in the fourth quarter. That could really be 60-some-odd points.
Now, Bob, I'm surprised you're talking about receivers. This is a big man's game. It's going to be one up in the trenches. Because let me tell you, when we're talking about trenches, yeah, Tua hadn't played in the fourth quarter, but nobody hadn't tatted that, have they, huh? They didn't put them hands on him yet. So what I think in this game, if it's a big man game, I think LSU putting pressure on Tua to see how he handles pressure. Because look, he had a few plays he made in the game against Georgia in the national championship game, but I want to see what he's like when he can't stand in the pocket, when he's on the run, when he's getting hit, when he's under pressure for an entire game. It's a big man's game, but it's a small man's conversation now when we talk about receivers.
Well, LSU has not given up a first quarter touchdown in the last 12 ball games. Meanwhile, Alabama can't be stopped on their opening possession. So we're going to see what gives when those two get on the field together this weekend. Time now for our college football showdown.
Today's Showdown of the Week is being brought to you by the Georgia Lottery.
Also, a few other games this week. We could talk all day about LSU and Alabama, but Penn State is at Michigan. They are number 5 in the country. Michigan, Jeffrey, another one of those teams we were talking about, another 7-1 team. They feel like they could play their way into the top 4, but they have a big matchup this weekend.
Yeah, they started out slow, and they've come on. They're tough. Their defense is playing tough, and the offense has come along. They found a quarterback. They're to be reckoned with.
All right, let's go to your pick for that ball game.
I don't think Penn State's going to be able to stop Michigan. I think Michigan's defense will stop Penn State. Give the 10.5 with the Wolverines.
All right, well, we've covered the SEC West battle, and up next we'll take a look at the battle for the SEC East. And it's a winner-take-all battle in Lexington. And we wonder, is it time to back off Jake Fromm? We'll discuss all those topics and more when we come back.
We've owned a few different houses through the years. Your company was absolutely the best. They were so professional. Everything they did, they didn't get a mark on a wall or anything else. It was clean, it was friendly, and it was fun. And most of the time, moving is not fun. I'm going to give a great recommendation to Atlanta Peach Movers. It's always on time and it's always professional. There is no tree in Atlanta Peach Movers.
To schedule your move, call Atlanta Peach Movers today.
Welcome to McRib Stories. Today's story is about Tanya, who always goes to great lengths to avoid FOM, the fear of missing McRib. So she sets an alarm, and an alarm for the alarm. And 2 weeks before that, she reminds her husband to remind her with a McRib lunch call. Moral of the story, do what you gotta do. Just don't miss the McRib. Hurry into McDonald's today and get 2 tangy McRib sandwiches for just $5. How's that sound for delicious?
Today's University of Georgia Report is being brought to you by This Is It Barbecue and Seafood.
Back on football's play to win, we were discussing the SEC West just a moment ago. Time now to dive into the SEC East and take a peek at the standings. How about that, guys? Georgia won, no surprise there. But there's Kentucky. This isn't basketball, this is football. They're up there number 2, 5-1. They're going to finish with a winning record in the SEC for the first time in almost 40 years. So it's been a while since they've been in this position, and this is an interesting game. And Chuck, I think when the season started, Georgia, Kentucky, that's another easy dub for UGA. Not so much now. Kentucky's for real.
Yeah, Kentucky is for real, but I think one thing that you see in Kentucky, they ain't got no offense. Now, what you see, they should have lost to Missouri. I'm watching this game against Missouri. I cannot believe they blew this game, but you know, Kentucky now, their program has grown, and I think it has a lot to do with visibility. Players are starting to want to go to Kentucky because the recruiting base in high school is really not that good. So what they're doing is able to recruit regionally in the Southeast and get players. But I think Kentucky's program has been, you know, trending up for the last couple of years. They've been doing a good job. Stoops is doing a good job.
Yeah, he has. And he's got some good players as well. And we'll see those guys on display on Saturday. And I think the country as a whole, or at least people in this region, will see Kentucky on the big stage for the first time. Let's focus on Georgia. I want to talk about Jake Fromm. And Bob, this guy, look, we've seen backup quarterback play a few times this season, but this last game that he had, probably the best we've seen out of him. Is it time to lay off of Jake Fromm now?
I've been laid off Jake Fromm.
Right. Yes.
Jamal been trying to get the other kid in. I'm like, yo, let the man have his job and let him work through the growing pains of being a sophomore quarterback trying to take a team back to a national championship game. That's a tough task. He was a tough task when he was a freshman, and then expect him to throw the ball down the field, and he was throwing it down the field. So now just let him have a couple of lumps, and he can guide this Georgia team. I know the pressure's on. It's critical pressure for him, but it's the type of pressure that I think Jake Fromm will stand up to and perform his best
He
at.
played great last week. He hit every third down pass they needed, touchdown passes. There's no controversy.
So in other words, Jeffrey, Fields' time is coming. It's just not right now.
Well, it may come. You know, Fromm stays forever.
He's too talented to
You know,
just sit on the
I
sideline.
think-
I'm not on Jake Fromm. I'm not on him. I want to see the guy play well, but I just know that there's a very, very talented guy playing behind him, and so that's my whole thing.
He's going to leave.
Well, the people behind him, look, you can talk about the backup quarterback all you want. When you talk about Holyfield and Swift, who
Yes.
better? He's probably a quarterback. No quarterback in the country came in with 2 better weapons to support a quarterback than Swift and Holyfield. So I think Jake Fromm has a tough offensive line, but he got 2 of the best running backs in America right now. So, hey, I mean, wham, wham, wham. Cry for Jake Fromm, but he got 2 of the best running backs to take pressure off of him.
All right, this is a matchup of 2 top 10 teams. Jeffrey, Anxious to hear what you have to say.
I have no idea where they came up with this number 8.5. Missouri was 7.5. They don't have a conference win, even though they were home. Kentucky doesn't have much of an offense. I think whatever Georgia scores is going to be the score. Give the 8.5 with the Bulldogs.
All right, it's time for you to go to our website and play our Ippolito's You Be the Expert contest.
This season, be sure to visit our website, playingtowin.tv, and take a shot to be #1 against all the competition by picking this week's college and NFL winners against the spread. We'll be giving away Ippolito's $100 and $50 gift certificates to each week's first and second place winners. So make sure you come back every week and prove your football IQ by being the best at predicting this week's college and NFL games. Ippolito's, a great neighborhood Italian restaurant.
After the break, we'll shift our focus to the NFL, where the Falcons are looking for a must-win in Washington. Can they block the Redskins' front? It's time for our Falcons report when we come back.
Look what God has done. Thank you. Because of your support, we've grown to locations all over Atlanta. This is the time of year where we all take time to give thanks and to celebrate with family and friends. May God richly bless you and your family is our prayer. Thank you and happy holidays! See you soon!
Athletes of all levels experience more wear and tear than most. Stop playing through the pain. Get the proper medical attention you need from Dr. El-Amin and the staff at the Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute. Our team includes specialists in many fields offering compassionate care and advanced treatments that will get you back in the game. From weekend warriors to athletes of all levels, we've got your back and shoulder and ankle and knee. Call today for an appointment or visit theshouldernation.com.
Fuel your football. Come to Mellow Mushroom for craft brews, fresh cocktails, and stone-baked pizzas. Or mellow at your own home gate. Tailgating? No matter who wins, it's always mellow for the win. Fuel your football with Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers.
Today's show is being brought to you by Nissan and This Is It Barbecue. Today's Atlanta Falcons report is being brought to you by McDonald's.
Back when football is play to win, it's time now to jump to the NFL. Falcons take on the Washington Redskins this weekend. Huge game for the Falcons. And they have a new addition. Guard Zane Beadles joins the ball club. And Jamal, I want to ask you about that. We're going to talk about what the Falcons can do against this blocking scheme for Washington coming up in a moment. But what kind of an impact can adding a guard like Beadles at this point of the season do?
You know, Zane was a guy who's been in this system for a number of years. He was a Pro Bowl player at Denver, and he just came from San Francisco, so he's very familiar with the terminology and what they were doing here. And I really like him, obviously because he's a Utah guy.
Go Utes. You might like the Utah, but what it is and says about the Falcons is that they've been struggling at guard, and what they did was they brought in Zane Beadles because they resorted back to backup guards with Ben Garland back in the lineup. So what it is you need the depth because the guys that you brought in to play are not playing, and now you have to go on the open market to find you a guard.
And the reason why he's here, because he wasn't playing. So look, man. Right now, the Falcons have struggled on their offensive line. Right now, they're just trying to figure it out. Bob, is it
they plug and play.
Y'all play offense, or they're just trying to figure it out?
Plug and play.
Because
they lost the guard. They lost the guard.
But anyway,
I think he'll work out good. Like I said, he'll be familiar with this offense and this system, and they should be able to plug him in right away if they need reps.
Just plug him in.
Well, they got their hands full. I mean, this Redskins front's no joke. They got this 3-4 defense. And Bob, what do they have on hand today? I mean, or in that ball game coming up this weekend? Because that's a load for those guys.
Well, it's definitely a load on the inside. Big nose guard, two heavy defensive ends. But they got a guy, Ryan Kerrigan, he can still heat it up on the outside edge, so he can pass rush and he can play the run very well. So I see a tough attack for the Falcons against that 3-4 because they're going to have to work all the facets of their offensive game plan. If the stretch run is getting shut down, they're going to have to go to maybe some inside schemes or whatever. So it's going to be a full gauntlet of coaching for the Falcons offense against that 3-4.
With the exception of the New Orleans game, Washington's defense has been fabulous.
Mm-hmm. They have been. Well, and how about Adrian Peterson as well? I mean, Chuck, here we are 2018. I didn't know that we'd be talking so much about Adrian Peterson for this ball game, but we are.
I mean, everybody talked about his conditioning all these years. Now you're basically seeing one of the all-time great conditioned athletes in Adrian Peterson. He's running with effectiveness. I love everything they're doing with him. They're not limiting him by his age. They're basically showing him that he can thrive. He's, offensive line's doing well. I mean, I got love for Adrian Peterson because there was so much hate on him. So much hate.
So many people who thought that he could not play, and he shows week in and week out that he's still big, he's still physical, and he still can make big runs.
Yeah, a big part of that Redskins attack. So, Jeffrey, what do you have on this ball game? Now, it's going to be a big one for the Falcons should they get it done.
Well, they're not going to get it done. I think the defense is weak. Giants kind of moved the ball on them. I think Washington's going to shove the ball down their throat. Give the 1.5 with the Redskins.
All right, so the Redskins, that's the pick. Let's look at the NFC South standings going into this weekend. And New Orleans at 6-1. They're going to be tough to dethrone, and you got Carolina in front of the Falcons. So a lot of guys that you got to kind of elbow through in order to get where you want to be. And Chuck, it's an interesting place for this Falcons team right now.
Yeah, it is, because right now, New Orleans looks like a team that's ready to go to the Super Bowl. Carolina looks grimy, like they're ready to scratch their way into the Super Bowl. Right. So the Falcons still got to play both of these teams again. They got to play Tampa again. But the key for
on the road too.
Thank you. Preach, Jeff. Preach.
I mean, right now it's about obviously getting back to 500, but keeping pace with these other teams. The Falcons cannot afford to lose because those other teams are playing so well that lead the division.
Saints are crazy though. I mean,
Saints and Panthers.
It's hard for me to understand how each and every year they keep doing what they're doing. I mean, now they run the ball. They got Drew Brees, and then Carolina. It's just unbelievable.
All right, when we come back, Dr. Elamine has a message for us from halfway around the world. Stay with us.
Welcome to McRib Stories. Today's story is about Tanya, who always goes to great lengths to avoid FOM, the fear of missing McRib. So she sets an alarm, and an alarm for the alarm. And 2 weeks before that, she reminds her husband to remind her with a McRib lunch call. Moral of the story, do what you gotta do. Just don't miss the McRib.
Hurry into McDonald's today and get 2 tangy McRib sandwiches for just $5. How's that sound for delicious?
Drug Studies America in Marietta is looking for patients who have a herniated disc or those suffering from low back pain, knee pain, hip pain, or pain from CRPS. Call this number now. You will receive free medical treatment and compensation for your time and travel at every visit. If you have a herniated disc or are suffering from low back pain, knee pain, hip pain, or pain from CRPS, please call Drug Studies America today.
Feast on one of Longhorn's steakhouse cuts. 12-ounce New York strip, center cut Flo's filet. For a limited time, 14-ounce Delmonico. The feeling, the flavor, the place. Longhorn Steakhouse. You can't fake steak.
Today's player, medical, and injury report is being brought to you by the Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute.
Dr. Elamine is on a mission trip in Liberia. That didn't stop him from sending us this report.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Sadiq Elamine. I'm live from Monrovia, Liberia, where I'm here doing some mission work. We're currently at an orphanage right now where we've passed out some dresses to help little girls in need. But let's talk about Week 9 injuries, what's affecting in the NFL. As you know, Tyreek Hill, the speedster from Kansas City, has a groin injury. He will not play. This is very devastating for that team because they rely on him a lot. Hopefully he should get back next week, but if not, the week after. These things can take a while. We know what happened to Devontae Freeman, who ended up having surgery for similar injury. Let's talk about the speedster Will Fuller from the Houston Texans. He's also tore his ACL while trying to catch a touchdown in the end zone last week. He is out for the season. Wishing him the best of luck. Let's also talk about quarterbacks. Ben Roethlisberger, the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, hurt his index finger on his left hand. So will this affect him throwing the ball down the field? Maybe it will. We're not sure. But we know Ben, he will play. Let's also talk about Baker Mayfield, the Cleveland Browns quarterback. Got banged up really bad last week. He's been limping around, has limited practice, but he should play this week. To all the injuries and athletes that got hurt this week, I wish them best of luck. This is Dr. Elamine, live from Africa, giving back. And don't forget, it's important that we take care of communities and that we also adopt children who are less fortunate.
When we come back, we'll have Jeffrey the Edge Schechter's picks. Stay with us.
Athletes of all levels experience more wear and tear than most. Stop playing through the pain. Get the proper medical attention you need from Dr. Elamine and the staff at the Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute. Our team includes specialists in many fields offering compassionate care and advanced treatments that will get you back in the game. From weekend warriors to athletes of all levels, we've got your back and shoulder and ankle and knee. Call today for an appointment or visit theshouldernation.com.
It's me, Wanda Smith, and is your schedule anything like mine? Busy, busy, busy. Listen, the holidays are approaching, and I just cannot stand over a hot stove. So do what I'm going to do. I'm going to order it all from This Is It. Place your order online. Your choice of smoked or fried turkey, ham, cornbread dressing, and plenty of delicious veggies to choose from. Pick it up, chill, then simply heat and serve. Order today. Holiday dinner, check.
All right, just a few more minutes left with you here on this week's show, and that means it's time for some picks. And for that, we go to Mr. Jeffrey Schechter. Time for this lightning round. What do you have for us?
Maryland stinks. That's the best I could say about them.
Yeah,
Give them 2.5 with the Spartans. Ohio State, after losing to Purdue 2 weeks ago, I think Urban's going to want to run it up. Give the 17.5. Next game is a big trap game. Northwestern at home, getting 9.5 points. I think they could possibly win this game. So take Northwestern with the points. And the pros, to me, the Ravens are the most disappointing team in the NFC. I like Pittsburgh with the 3 at Baltimore. I said at the beginning of the year I like Houston. I looked a little stupid after the first 3 games, but now they're coming on. Take the 1 against Denver. And I like New Orleans giving the 1.5 at home over the Rams.
All right, there you have it. Good picks all the way around. Guys, just a few more minutes left, and I want to talk a little bit more about this Bama-LSU ball game before we wrap it up. What are your thoughts on this one, Bob?
I'm going to see it.
You're going, right?
Yeah, I'm going. So I got to catch the flight and get down there, and I'm going to see it live in the flesh. It's going to be great. And it's one of the things that it's a different thing with SEC football. I experienced the Auburn game earlier this year, so I can't wait to see this atmosphere, this environment down in Baton Rouge. It's going to be hyped.
Chuck, he's in for quite a night there at that Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, he is, because last week I was at Stanford Stadium. Bob leaves me hanging. I call him to come in against Stanford, Washington State. He not only forgets about me, doesn't call me back, so I'm there all alone at the stadium in Stanford. I ain't get to see my boy. But I ain't see him till we got here, but that's my parting thoughts.
When he said he was prepping for the show, he was prepping for that right
there.
Yeah,
never dish your boy, man. Never dish your boy. Now I'm just
the key for LSU is to stay in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, if they get knocked, Bama quick 14 points, game's over.
Jamal, I want to get your thoughts on Georgia-Kentucky right quick.
I really feel like it's Georgia's game right now. They got to go to Kentucky. It's going to be a physical team that they're going to play against. But if they do what they're supposed to do, like Chuck said, run that offense through those talented running backs.
Run that thing, man. Tote that rock.
All right.
And you got Benny. You didn't speak on Benny. Benny
Snell is my guy. You know that. I know he's going to be dangerous, and Georgia's got to stop him.
All right, big games this weekend, guys. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate you guys having me this week. Nikki will be back next weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in for Football's Play to Win.
Today's show has been brought to you by the Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute, Mellow Mushroom, and Atlanta Peach Movers.